Alrighty, welcome to the first ever Tabnine Office Hours. My name is Amanda Ishmael. I'm head of marketing programs, joined here by Chris Good today, our new senior product marketing manager. And you're about to close on a house here pretty soon, huh?
Yeah, very exciting. Very exciting. It's a big week for us over here, right? Not only with this the start of Tabnine Office Hours, but hopefully a new chapter in life as well.
That is awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get going then. Get this screen up here.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And as we said, this is the first session of Tabnine Office Hours. For folks who are new here, which I guess is just about everyone, we're going to be doing this once a week, right, on Wednesdays. So we'll be doing, late mornings for the PST, right? So we'll be doing 10 a.m. PST or 10:30, excuse me, every Wednesday. And then we'll be doing, I believe, is it a 7 a.m. PST?
Yeah, exactly. So if you're coming in from Europe or East Coast, it's going to be on an alternating schedule. So one week it'll be 10:30 a.m. PT time. The subsequent week it'll be 7 a.m. PT time, but always on Wednesdays.
Yep. Awesome. So I know we did briefly give you guys an introduction, but we'll circle back one more time. I'm Chris Good. I'm a product marketing manager here at Tabnine, and I'll let Amaya again introduce himself.
Yeah, my name is Amanda Ishmael. I'm head of marketing programs at Tabnine, and excited to spend some time with you guys today and educate you about AI.
Absolutely. So we're going to be covering a lot today. So here's what you can expect to learn in this session. We'll be starting with how to accelerate your SDLC with Tabnine, and through how Tabnine writes code like experienced, mature engineer on your team, through how to maintain complete privacy over your code and data, as well as having complete protection from IP issues and legal liability. We're going to go through a live demo of showing how Tabnine, or how users will interact with Tabnine in each stage of the SDLC, and then we'll be capping things off with a live Q&A session at the end. So let's just talk about the real business impact that AI code assistants have been delivering, right? They've been proven, or are proven, to have a significant impact on developer productivity, engineering velocity, and employee satisfaction. And here's just a few statistics we can share from independent studies, right? We have, for one, AI reduces developer task time by up to 30% for code refactoring, and 45% for code generation, and 50% for documentation. And task completion by developers went up by as much as 15% for medium complexity tasks, and up by 30% for high complexity tasks. Developers are also reporting just being happier in their work. A 45% without AI to an 88% of sort of satisfaction and happiness with their job using ADI. That's with a similar 2x increase in the ability to focus more on more meaningful work. And then another independent survey of IT pros estimated that they could save more than 5 hours per week by using AI to complete repetitive tasks, right? That equates to roughly, I think, $15,000 worth of time per IT worker annually. And based on our measures, that's a very, very low estimate of the value actually delivered from these AI code assistants. So with all of this, it's no surprise that one survey even reported that 78% of companies expect to use generative AI for software development in the next 3 to 5 years. So the benefits of engineering, or the benefits to engineering teams, are proving to be abundantly clear. But I think that leads us to the question of sort of, which AI code assistant is right for your business specifically, right? So
yeah, then before we move on to that, just one couple of notes on this that I wanted to share with the audience is, with that IT pros study and the $15K annually in time and cost savings, the actual figure is much, much larger. So think about the cost you're incurring from having code that is difficult to maintain, from the time you're spending in code reviews, editing and marking up the same issues over and over again, to the time it takes for new developers to onboard onto your team and understand your organizational code base, your repos, the way you guys write code that's unique to your company, and become fully onboarded and ready to contribute and help push new features. All of that's going to go down with AI once you adopt an AI coding assistant. Furthermore, like think about having complete test coverage over your code as well. That's always kind of been a dream in software development. But hey, no one really loves writing all those tests. With AI, you can completely automate that and get full test coverage as well as documentation coverage. That's just scratching the surface. So let's move on.
No, I appreciate it. That's a good bit to draw attention to. So let's talk about what is Tabnine, right? Tabnine boosts code quality and developer happiness by automating the coding workflow through AI tools, right? Tabnine helps development teams of every size use AI to accelerate and simplify their software development process without sacrificing privacy and security, right? So Tabnine boosts engineering velocity, code quality, and developer happiness. And a few points I want to draw on this slide is that one, we've pioneered generative AI for software development, and we are the originator of the AI code assistant category, launching our first product in 2018. We also are now used by over 1 million developers across thousands of companies in very highly regulated industries. And then the last piece is that we work with more than 600 languages and frameworks. And so we support all of the most popular IDEs, right? So we'll be able to meet you where you're comfortable. So what exactly is an AI code assistant? Because, let's hone in on a definition. We'll move on to the next, the rest of the section, right? And an AI code assistant is an AI agent that lives alongside you, right, as you move throughout the software development process. It's powered by generative AI infrastructure and is aware of your project and code base. And AI code assistants can take your plain language prompts and use that to explain code, generate code, refactor or fix code, answer general coding questions, or help coach you on specific languages or frameworks, as well as autonomously generating documentation and tests, as Amaya previously said. And the capability of these AI assistants continue to grow, taking on more and more of the software development process, becoming more and more accurate and more autonomous in their work. So think of this AI code assistant as, like Amaya said, a deeply experienced, highly trained software developer sitting alongside you to help you be more successful with your everyday tasks. And unlike other coding assistants, Tabnine is the AI code assistant that you control. And what do we mean by that? For one, it's private. You choose where and how to deploy Tabnine to maximize control over your intellectual property. And you can rest easy knowing that Tabnine never stores or shares any of your company's code. The second piece is it's personalized. Tabnine delivers this optimized experience for each development team. It's context aware, and it can be fine-tuned to recommend based on your company's standards or guidelines. And then the last piece is it's protected. Tabnine's built with enterprise-grade security and compliance at its core. We offer both indemnification and models trained on exclusively open source code with permissive licenses to avoid any risk of IP liabilities. So I just want to draw attention here. This is, all the IDEs that we support. And again, it's important to know that we're not going to force your hand to do something that you're not comfortable with. We're able to meet you where you are comfortable in your everyday flow. And when it comes to frameworks and languages, Tabnine supports the most popular languages, libraries, frameworks. Over roughly 600 of them are supported currently with an ever-growing list. So now I'm going to hand it over to Amaya. He's going to cover the next sections prior to the demo. So take it away.
Thanks, Chris. So Tabnine's AI code assistant makes analyzing, creating, and improving your code at every stage of the software development lifecycle faster and easier. And our AI agents and in IDE chat help you with planning, creation, testing, deployment, and more. So how does this look across the entire SDLC? First of all, Tabnine is going to keep your developers in flow, letting them execute every step of the SDLC without having to leave their IDE. And there's many ways to interact with Tabnine, which we'll show you in the demo. At a high level, the two ways to think about it are interacting with Tabnine through code completions and interacting with a set of AI chat agents right inside your IDE to execute specific tasks. So now I just want to briefly give you an overview of all of the different chat agents that we've built in the Tabnine. And the intent behind these AI chat agents is to take the heavy lifting of prompt engineering off your hands. So I don't know if you guys remember when ChatGPT and everything first came out, there seemed to be this sudden influx of consultants and people on LinkedIn sharing prompting guidelines for the AI. And well, what the AI agents let you do is instead of having to write these super complicated prompts, you can just invoke a particular agent that's tailored and custom built for each step of the SDLC. So let's move across the SDLC and talk about each agent in some more detail. Starting with plan, here you're going to want to use our Tabnine Code Explorer agent, and that's going to help your developers on-ramp onto a new project faster. When you use it, what you'll see is that it provides a comprehensive overview of key project elements, and that includes runnable scripts, dependencies, overall structure, and rather than inundating you with an avalanche of information, the Code Explorer agent is really going to act as a knowledgeable guide that presents essential details while offering pathways for further exploration. And you'll also see that it's going to offer up additional follow-up questions that are tailored to the user's context and the task at hand. So it's really going to empower your developers to chart their own course through a project or code base's intricacies. As you've built familiarity with the code base or project you're working on, next step is going to be to actually start creating code. And there's a couple ways to do this. The first is through Tabnine Chat. And you can use natural language here to generate code based on your design specs. You can create software components, features, functionality, and a whole lot more. And this is where personalization is going to come into play. So Tabnine Chat is going to generate code by understanding the context of your project inside the IDE, as well as taking context from any code bases that you've connected. And furthermore, if you're using our Jira agents and you've integrated Jira with Tabnine, which Chris will show you how to do, you can even go directly from Jira ticket to implementation against that Jira issue, and validation against the Jira issue as well, all without having to leave your IDE. So once you've created some code, now it's time to generate testing for it, right? And this is where the Tabnine test agent really shines. So what this lets you do is enhance your test coverage by automating the creation and execution of comprehensive test plans. So when you fire the Tabnine test agent, you're going to see that it's going to generate detailed test cases for all your functions and methods on the particular file you're working on. And it will even go so far as to create a new testing file or add those onto an existing testing file that you can direct it to. And each test case will include a short description that's going to be in plain English. And all you have to do from there is just select the ones that you want to implement, and Tabnine is going to generate that code for you, and you're ready to deploy it. Moving on into fixes. So look, everyone gets bugs and errors in their code, and you guys are all running a sophisticated set of tools to help identify those and flag them. But with Tabnine, we make fixing code so much easier. There's a couple ways to do that. The first is you can go into Tabnine Chat and ask it to find all the errors in your code, and then you can ask it to suggest a fix for all those errors. Alternatively, you can also go one by one and have it find all the errors in your code, and then use our code lens functionality to automatically make edits to fix those errors directly inside of your code file. Moving on into documentation here, that's where the Tabnine documentation agent comes into play. So you just click that button and ask Tabnine to create docs, and that's going to create all sorts of things. That includes formal documentation of classes and functions for API guides, comments, and inline docs. And something that's really neat here is if you're using a particular documentation format already in your code, Tabnine is going to recognize that, and it's going to generate docs that match your formatting style automatically. And that's the power of the context and personalization. Finally, if you encounter code that you're not so familiar with, perhaps it's legacy code, or it's written by another developer, or it's code in a language that you just don't have as much expertise in, that's where the explain code agent comes into play. You can use Tabnine to help you understand and learn more about any particular code. And finally, as you're going on into maintenance, Chris will show you some really interesting functionality here. You can ask Tabnine for suggestions to improve your code, improve your application, to change code, fix a bug, add functionality, and you can even use it to refactor and translate existing code. So pretty much any AI coding assistant can help you accelerate your SDLC, right? But not all AI coding assistants are the same. And this is where Tabnine really shines, because it writes code like a fully onboarded member of your team. And using an AI code assistant that's not sufficiently aware of your existing code base and your coding standards, it's like hiring a well-trained software engineer off the street. Helpful and well-intentioned, but likely to create code that needs to be modified to fit your application. And the reason that you'll encounter this with most LLMs and AI coding assistants today is that the LLMs that underpin all these tools lack the context and understanding that's unique to your distinctive patterns and specific approaches that your developers take. And if the AI does not intake that as context, it increases the likelihood that while the code it generates meets your requirements, it'll need to be modified, and sometimes significantly, in order to be accepted into the code base. But context is really what changes everything, and that's what enables Tabnine to deliver more relevant and higher quality code recommendations. And when you layer in the right amount of context, and that includes local files, the code base of your project or company, and relevant non-code sources of information, Tabnine will really start performing like a senior engineer with years of experience in your company, sitting alongside your developers. So how do we really enable this level of customization and personalization? Well, we use 4 levels of progressive personalization at Tabnine to optimize how our AI coding assistant works for your team. And this personalization makes sure that Tabnine generates recommendations that are relevant to your apps and approach and fit your existing patterns and standards. So there's 4 levels of optimization that occur here: context, connection, and coaching and customization. Starting with the first one, context awareness happens in the IDE. And this makes Tabnine aware of any code open in the IDE around a given project, and it's going to use that insight to guide how it responds. And you turn this on by toggling on the workspace indexing button inside Tabnine chat, which Chris will show you in the demo. That's going to tell Tabnine to index your workspace, and it's going to access locally available data in your IDE. And that data is going to include things like variable types used by the developer, interactions near the completion point in the code, comments they've added, open files they've interacted with, imported packages and libraries, and open projects. And you can even guide Tabnine to focus on specific elements in your workspace through using our @mentions feature, which is simply using the @ symbol to tag unopened files, classes, or methods directly into Tabnine chat. The next level of personalization is connection to your code and knowledge bases. So in Tabnine Enterprise today, administrators can connect Tabnine to organizational sources of information. That includes code repositories, design documents, Jira tickets, and a whole lot more coming on our roadmap. And what you'll see from this is another significant increase in the relevance of code recommendations, explanations, generated tests, and documentation. And both of these features are in private preview and available to Tabnine Enterprise customers, notably Codebase connection and Jira integration. The third level is coaching based on your standards. And if you're looking for more information on that and a live demo on that, Chris and Shantanu from our product marketing team are actually hosting a Tabnine Live showcasing our brand new code review agent that's our first release under this coaching pillar. But the long-term vision with coaching is to let your engineering team provide Tabnine with explicit steering and constraints that dictate how Tabnine should behave in specific situations. And with the code review agent, you're going to get enforcement of specific standards and guidelines for any generated code, tests, or documentation. Finally, a capability that's currently offered today is fine-tuning and model customization of the underlying Tabnine protected V2 model. This is really going to maximize the personalization of Tabnine at your company. So what we're going to do for you here is create fine-tuned or custom models. And this works really well for domain-specific languages that you're using and or an organization-specific code base. And what this effort does is create a unique model that fine-tunes our Tabnine V2 protected V2 universal model with your own code and data. This personalization does require your organization to curate sufficient amounts of high-quality training data, which is a non-trivial task. And there's some things that you'll need to know to understand when customization is warranted. And good use cases for that is if you want Tabnine to know a domain-specific language that's private to your organization or is poorly documented and available in open source code libraries on the internet, as well as if all your projects use internal libraries and infrastructure, and you have about 3 million lines of code that follows those libraries and infrastructure, fine-tuning and model customization is really going to be a great fit for you. And it's included in our Tabnine Enterprise plan, caveat being that you do have to deploy on-premise in order to leverage this. So we've talked about our AI agents, we've talked about personalization, and another one of the great benefits of Tabnine is we're personalizing all of this for you, but you're maintaining complete privacy over your code and data. And that's because your data security is really important to us. So I want to assure you that your code remains private and safe. We're trusted by millions of developers and thousands of organizations worldwide, some really tight industries like aerospace and defense, pharmaceuticals, semiconductor manufacturing, places where sensitive IP is inside the code. So we've developed a comprehensive set of practices and policies to help ensure your data is secure when you're using Tabnine. So on a high level, there's 4 things to know here. The first is that we guarantee zero data retention. So your code and usage data, it's never stored, it's never shared with third parties. The second is that we offer proven enterprise-grade security that meets key industry standards, SOC 2, ISO 9001, GDPR, to name a few, along with other regulatory requirements. We also give you the flexibility to deploy Tabnine however makes the most sense for your business. You can run Tabnine as SaaS, VPC, or on-prem, and we also give you the option of running Tabnine as a fully air-gapped deployment. Finally, with Tabnine, you stay in control of your sensitive IP. So we don't exploit our access to your code or use your data, and we never use your code, data, or behaviors to feed our general models. So all the personalization, the customization, and the context that you're feeding into Tabnine, that remains unique to your own instance of Tabnine. It is only accessible to your team, and that data never makes it back to our universal models. Going a bit into more depth on deployment and the different packages offered here. So starting with Secure SaaS. This type of deployment is available for our starter tier, pro tier, and our enterprise tier. And with the Secure SaaS deployment, we host, manage, and monitor the solution ourselves. We frequently update it. And with our SaaS deployment, we've implemented an end-to-end encryption system to ensure that the communication between our clients, users, and our servers remains completely secure. Additionally, our security team continuously monitors for vulnerabilities and conducts regular audits to ensure our security infrastructure is up to the latest standards. And this ensures that even if you go with the SaaS deployment, your data is handled with the utmost care and security. Inside the private installations and self-hosted deployment category, we offer 2 options here. One's VPC, and you can get this on Tabnine Enterprise. And in this setup, the Tabnine cluster is a Kubernetes hosted unit on your virtual private cloud. And we support GCP, AWS, Azure, and many others. And with this, we don't have access to your customer environment, but we perform periodic software updates in a controlled way. The other option here is on-premise, and in the on-premise private installation. Similarly, the Tabnine cluster is a Kubernetes cluster that's hosted on your servers on your own private network. And we also give you the option of doing a fully air-gapped deployment of Tabnine, as I stated earlier. So you're protected from privacy. Your IP security is safe. You've got a highly personalized AI code assistant, but you might be worried about IP liability and legal risk from using AI. And it's understandable because with AI copyright law still being unsettled and the potential IP liability of AI injecting unlicensed code into your code base, you might be worried about possible legal ramifications of adopting generative AI. But with Tabnine, you don't have to worry about that. Our protected model is exclusively trained on licensed code that completely frees you from legal risk. So a bit more information about this. So our Tabnine Universal models are state-of-the-art permissive open source LLMs. And these models are the result of our involvement in the open source LLM community. We're regular contributors to many of the open source LLM models. And this really gives us an advantage when selecting the best ones out there. And our clients trust us to curate every option in the market for them. And I assure you that every time we update our universal model, it includes the latest and greatest. And being good open source citizens really allows us to have our proprietary add-ons ready for any model. So in the next slide, I'll tell you about our switchable models capability. Important to note that all of the personalization enhancements and the AI code agents that we offer are model agnostic and can be run with any LLM you like. If you're going to go with our Tabnine protected model, you'll know that we only used open source code with permissive licenses to train the Tabnine protected model. And those licenses are listed on this slide. That list is also publicly available and regularly updated in our trust center. And I can guarantee that at the time of training the model, the licenses used only belong to the list of those in our trust center. So we never train on data that isn't permissive. And that ensures that if legal liability is something you're concerned about, using Tabnine protected frees you from that risk. And furthermore, we give you added protection through indemnification. So important to note that by nature, our models do expose you to the risk of intellectual property infringement, but we still support Tabnine Enterprise customers with the added protection of indemnification. So talk to you about our Tabnine protected model, but that's not the only model that we offer. But if you are looking for a completely private and completely protected model, that's the one I recommend you use. But Tabnine Chat does give you the option of using third-party models, but note that the privacy and protection policies offered by these third-party models may be different from the Tabnine models. But we give you the insight that you really need to choose. So if you're a Tabnine Enterprise customer, your administrators can control and specify the models that you're going to make available to your organization. And three important things to note here are to think about performance, privacy, and protection as you're considering the set of models you want to enable. Starting with performance, you're going to want to consider if the models provide accurate, relevant results for the programming languages and frameworks that you're working in right now. And on the performance aspect, we conduct regular reviews of code performance for all the LLMs and publish those in a Tabnine Live every quarter. So we'll have the next one coming up in Q1 2025, and it'll be called What's the Best LLM for Software Development. And if you want to check out some of the insights from the last one, you can see that on our YouTube channel. Second consideration here is privacy. So think about, does the model store your code or your user data? Could it be shared with third parties? Is your code being used to train their model? And then the third thing to think about is protection. So ask yourself, what code was the model trained on? Is it all legally licensed from the author? And will you create risks for your business by accepting generated code from a model trained on unlicensed repositories? And today, all of the models that we offer include Tabnine Protected, Tabnine plus Mistral, as well as the latest and greatest models from Anthropic, Cohere, Mistral, and OpenAI. Finally, wanted to note that if you have your own endpoint already for an LLM, or perhaps you've built your own, you can connect your own models into Tabnine Chat and offer those to your team. This is a really powerful capability that's going to let you future-proof your AI code assistant. So something we believe is going to happen here is that more and more LLMs are going to come out, and you're also going to start to see a lot more SLMs or small language models. And what we predict is going to happen is there's going to be a massive increase in the number of SLMs for code-specific languages, as well as for specific types of engineering work that you may or may not be doing. So going with Tabnine gives you that complete model flexibility to continue to use the latest and greatest, as well as access your own company's innovations in generative AI. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Chris here, and we're going to get into the full demo of the Tabnine platform.
Oh man, yep, everyone's favorite, right? It's one thing to hear about it, it's another thing to see it in person. Just to confirm, can you see the screen, Amaya?
Yeah, so here I'm going to add that to stage for you there.
Awesome.
There you go.
So we're here. Okay, perfect. So first, let's go over the Tabnine UI that folks are going to interact with and each of the agents that you'll find along the way. So for me, started up opening my IDE. I use VS Code, but we support the entire JetBrains family, as well as VS Studio. So upon using Tabnine or having it installed in your IDE, you'll notice this icon here. That's the Tabnine logo. When you click that, it's going to open up the Tabnine chat agent. And you can use everyday conversational language to type in prompts, queries, as well as using each of these buttons. And each of these buttons is symbolic of an agent, right, that we built to do more of the heavy lifting for end users to reduce prompt engineering. Right, so each of these buttons launch a different agent. One for explaining code. This is great for onboarding in a new projects, which we'll show here in a second, as well as writing full documentation or generating tests for the code. All of this can be done through these buttons here. Next, I want to show the switchable models. Right, so this is where you can see all of the LLMs that are available to you as an end user that's been turned on by your administrator, as well as a short description of sort of the best use case for each of these. I'm a Claude 3.5 Sonnet guy, but everyone has their opinions here, so that's what we're going to be using for this demo. Next up, you'll be also able to see a chat history here. So if there's, as you start new conversations, you'll be able to go back and revisit them if you need to. And then moving over, we have the test agent. So this beaker icon allows you to, this is where you would generate comprehensive test plans for your code. And we'll get to this later in the demo, but we'll show you what it's like to, you simply highlight text, you generate a new test file, and then you'll create a comprehensive plan for that. The next piece I just want to draw attention to is this gear icon, right? So this is where you'll be able to turn inline completions within your chat window, define or add custom commands, as well as connect to Jira. Now, I've already connected to Jira, but it is about 2 clicks and 10 seconds, and you can have this integration on your machine once it's been turned on from via your system administrator. So that's this agent. Let me go over here to the actual code itself. So as you're typing, for example, in Tab9, you'll notice that anything gray here that pops up, this is the Tab9 auto completions. Right, and as you're typing in the IDE, Tabnine will generate contextually relevant code recommendations. It will automatically recognize the intent. So if you're writing a test, it will autocomplete the tests. If you're going to write another rule that's going to be printed out here for this program, it'll recognize that and add add an autocomplete for completing that rule to speed things up. The next piece that we're going to go over is these sort of buttons here at the top of each block of code, and that is the code lens. It's just another way to access those agents, but in a more inline in the developer flow way, right? So you can edit, test, fix, explain, document, or ask questions about this specific block of code. And then the last piece we're going to talk about is the quick commands. So on a Mac, you can initialize that by Command I, and then you'll see the quick commands here as well. And you can fix code, document, explain, and explore. So we've covered sort of the areas in which folks will interact with Tab9 in their IDE. Let's go through a usual cycle for software dev, going through each phase of the SDLC, starting with plan. So for this first stage, I think it's important for a developer to gain an understanding of the project, what the application does, the methods and classes that are associated with this code base. And that's a great use for the explain code. So we are going to do or actually, excuse me, let me start a new conversation. We're going to do explore code base. And what this is going to do is it's going to go through and it's a quick built-in action that Tabnine chat users can invoke when starting a new conversation, aka sort of an empty state. So by using that code explore functionality, the Tabnine chat prompt, it'll return a high-level summary of the project's key elements, including any runnable scripts, key dependencies, and overall structure. In addition to that, you can also ask more in-depth questions around that. I'm trying to see here if we can do another explore code base. Let's see here. What it'll do is generate relevant follow-up questions, right? So in addition to that summary, you're able to dive much deeper and much quicker into relevant information about your code base or the task that you might have on hand. So quickly scanning this, we know that this is a password generators like CLI program, and we know what's in each file and how it ties together. So let's continue on with this next phase of the SDLC, which is to be create. Earlier in the session, we talked briefly about our Jira agents, right? And there's two, right? There's our implementation agent and our validation agents, and we've already connected Jira to Tabnine. However, like I said, it takes about 2 clicks and 20 seconds if you haven't done it yet. So what we'll do is we'll go over to Jira, and you can see this is my board here today, and I have about 5 tickets here in my queue. So what we'll do is we'll go back here to the IDE and we can implement one of those. So we'll click this icon here, this Jira logo, or you can just type in this command and it'll pop up this dropdown. Now, it's important to acknowledge that you're not going to see everyone's tickets in your development organization, only the tickets that are assigned to this specific user who's within the ID. In this case, all the tickets that are assigned to me. So what we'll do is pick one and say implement this ticket. Sweet. Awesome. So it shows me exactly where we need to go and what we need to do. We're in the main Java file. So if I hit, let's see here, apply, we're going to do, let's see here. We're going to copy this code, put this here. And then we will add a display banner at the bottom. Sweet. And now we can ask our agent to validate this. Validate, whoops, this ticket. And what you'll see is Tabnine will go through and validate the ticket based on the acceptance criteria or the description of the ticket. And as you can see here, it passes with flying colors. Each acceptance criteria has been confirmed that it is good to go. Which is good. That's what we want, right? So we've created new functionality, but I can see there's some errors in my code. So let's just go to the agent here. And this is the next phase of the SDLC fixing, right? So we'll use the chat agent to find errors within that code. I know it's within the generator.java file, but we can reference that file here and we can say, where are the errors in this file?
So as that's generating, important to note, when we did the Jira agent demo, Tabnine used two sources of context there. One was context from the Jira issue itself, and the second was context from the workspace. So you can see on the bottom right of the chat window, it says that it's using workspace. So when you are running the implementation, it's reading the context of your workspace and then deciding how to structure the code so that it fits seamlessly into that workspace. And then when you're doing validation, it is, again, reading the code that's inside your workspace and then validating it against the Jira requirements.
Yep. Okay, so we know that this is where the errors are. We can use the code lens, though, to fix this, right? So let me do public main loop, user options, accept this change. Boom. There we go. No more errors. The generator.java file is good to go. And that was using the code lens.
Chris, if you were to try to solve errors yourself manually, how much longer do you think that would have taken you?
A lot longer, right? I think I can't tell you the amount of time it takes sometimes to, I joked around with my buddies. There was an engineer that I used to work with at a previous job, and I always said that, was he the fastest at writing? Maybe not, but what he could do better than anyone else was debug and fix code super quick. And that's something that I think a lot of folks struggle with, right? So it can save you minutes. It can save you, unfortunately, sometimes hours, beating your head off a wall trying to figure out where things are going wrong and how exactly to fix them properly. So then the next phase would be to test, right? And there's ways that you can test individual functions or code blocks for like unit testing, or you can do just generate an entire test plan for a whole file. So that's what we'll do here today. We'll generate a test plan. We're going to select the code we want. I would like to do the entire generator file. I do not have a test file. If you did, you'd be able to just browse here and it would show all of the files within this project, but we haven't created one yet, so we will create one here. Continue, and it will generate a comprehensive test plan, and you'll see with detailed test cases for different functions and methods. And it'll automatically generate test cases covering a wide variety of testing scenarios, from unit testing to pressure testing. And once you, for example, you click on one of these suggested tests, and if it's great and it works like you want it to, and this is ideal, perfect, insert it, and it's easy to go. However, if you would like to modify the test, just use everyday natural language to type in the changes that you want to see, and you can modify each of those. Additionally, once you have created all of your tests, you can ask the Tabnine chat agent to validate that you have complete test coverage, and it can also suggest maybe other areas if there was certain areas you wanted to hone in on more, right? Like certain pressure testing and things of the sorts. So we've then created a comprehensive test plan. Let's just, for the sake of this, we'll add in a few more here. And awesome. And you can see it's incredibly quick. Some folks prefer to type and then ask to make sure there's full comprehensive coverage. Other folks like to start with just adding tests here and then compare that there's full coverage, but you can go about it whatever way you would like. So we've created a test plan. We've added in new functionality. Let's create some documentation for the code so we know we know what it is, right, and how it works. So we can do that two ways. We can generate code from or documentation from the chat window here, or the chat agent here. We can also go through the code lens, and that's what we're going to do today. So we will say document, just quickly pressing that button. It'll generate a we'll generate the documentation here, but let's just say this isn't exactly to your liking. Personal preference. I prefer all of my documentation to be comments on the side. Hate it or love it. That's just how I am. So you can refine your requests here in line by saying change documentation, or let's just do generate more detailed documentation to the right of each line. And it'll reprocess that request, ultimately adding in the documentation how I would like it, line by line within this block of code. Sweet. Hit accept, and we're all good there. So the last sort of piece of the SDLC that we're going to cover right now is maintaining. You'll want to continue to improve your applications, and Tabnine can be a source of ideas for you to do that. So I'm going to ask Tabnine here, generate 10 ideas for me to improve the functionality of the program, making the password, there we go, generation more, checking more efficient and secure. Perfect. And you'll see that certainly, love the positivity with Claude. It will generate all of these future improvements, as well as suggest code. You can quickly apply these or insert them or copy them and use them in a Jira ticket for a later date. But yeah, it's provided these blocks of code. I can create new Jira tickets, and it's a rinse and repeat with the same process. But everything is staying under this hood here within the IDE, and I think that's pretty cool. The last piece that we're going to cover is the admin portal, or I guess UI, right? So as an administrator, this is what you'll be able to see. This is currently viewing the self-hosted enterprise admin portal, but you'll get information on an overview of your active users and total usage per week, and sort of getting more granular as you move down through this analytics section. Diving more into account utilization, usage per user, as well as you can see, most popular chat models, interactions per model, and so on and so forth. You'll also be able to manage individual team members, as well as or manage teams, as well as manage individual users, getting a general sense of a health check as well on your organization's activity. And the last section here I want to draw attention to is the settings section of this admin portal, right? This is where you'll be able to configure single sign-on. You'll be able to enable Tabnine context, right? So this is the workspace contexting that we previously talked about within the IDE. You'll also be able to link to external code repositories. In this case, I am currently have mine connected to this instance, as well as turn on or turn off Jira connection for the users in your organization. And then the last piece here, this is the available Tabnine models that we offer through our switchable models modal. So you'll see this is, administrators can come in here and easily turn off or turn on whichever models that they prefer. But I think That's the gist of it. We've covered each stage of the SDLC and how Tabnine interacts with folks through each of those stages and where you'll find Tabnine. And we also covered the admin panel. I think we are done, I think, with this portion of the demo. If Amaya, you want to bring it back to the slides.
Absolutely. So what's new in Tabnine, Chris?
Well, we've got three big things, right? I think the first that we'll talk about is, and we're going to be talking about it more tomorrow morning, right? So if you are, if the code review agent is exciting to you, you can find us tomorrow morning, I believe at 10. I don't want to say the wrong time here. 8 a.m. PST, we'll be on talking about the code review agent. And for folks who don't know, the code review agent is a software validation agent that enables organizations to produce higher quality, more secure code by leveraging and enforcing any given team's unique best practices and standards for software development, right? It enables folks to codify your institutional knowledge into rules, and then the agent checks code and pull requests and the IDE against those rules to make sure they align with your standards. And if the code doesn't perform or conform to your rules, then the agent will flag deviations and provide guidance and suggested edits to fix those issues. The next piece is the AI agents for Jira. So you saw those, the implementation and the validation agents, just a one-click way to implement Jira tickets super quickly and easily, and validate them equally as easily. And then the last piece is inline actions, right? So as you saw me using the code lens, right, the ability to accept a response, to disregard a response, or even refine a response are the some of the inline actions functionality, right? So that's a new release for us, just really honing in and on developer flow, in my opinion, right? Making it more seamless of an interaction and more smooth for developers to still really get those benefits and reap the rewards of Tabnine without having to leave their IDE or go into a new flow that might feel unusual for them. Meeting them where they feel comfortable.
Great. Thanks, Chris, for that great demo and overview. And thanks, everyone, for spending some time with us here today. And if you've got any questions or comments that you want to address, feel free to drop them into the chat, and we'll spend the next 6 minutes or so answering those.
Oof. Went down the wrong pipe.
Glad you didn't have that happen during the demo.
Yeah, right.
Cool. All right. Well, there's no questions. We'll probably end early here. There's a couple ways you can get started with Tabnine. So if you want to try out Tabnine Pro yourself, you can get a 90-day free trial of that. Just visit our website. You can also try our basic tier, which is a free IDE install. Note that you'll really only get code completions and limited access to our chat on the free tier, but you get full access on the pro tier along with the Jira agents. And if you're interested in evaluating Tabnine Enterprise with your engineering team, just come to our website and fill out our contact us form, or just talk to our SDRs that are available for live chat to get a meeting scheduled. And we can help you figure out your best approach for evaluating and implementing an AI coding assistant that writes code like a fully onboarded member of your team at your company. Thanks for joining us today. And if you haven't registered yet, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., we're doing our next Tabnine Live. And that will cover our code review agent and explain how you can use natural language to set rules for your organization's code review. And it'll have a live demo of the code review agent in action as well.
Might be slightly biased. I think it's really cool technology. So I hope to see everyone there, and Thanks for joining. Thanks for spending an hour with us this morning.